NostalgiaCon. How are you guys? All right. We have our modern anime panel. Can each of you guys introduce yourself?
Hey, my name is Nazeeh Tarsha. I am the English voice of Kafka Hibino in Kaiju number 8. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, all right. Yeah, that's all we need. Yeah.
You're like, I'm going to end there. I'm going to end on
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, we got the important character got the clap, that's it, we're done. That's it.
Hi, my name is Kari Wahlgren, and I'm the English voice for Granny Seiko in Dawn to Dawn. Yeah. Oh, there we go. Now I feel like I don't want to name any other ones either. But okay, so Saber in the Fate series. Oh my gosh, now I'm like, what else can I say? I'm Fu in Samurai Champloo, which I'm very excited. Kirk is also going to be doing the Samurai Champloo thing. I know, it's because we're old.
Yeah.
Old and seasoned. And then Haruko in FLCL was my very first one, so if anybody's... Oh, that one, okay. I'm going to quit there.
I'm Kirk Thornton. Honored to be sitting next to Kari. Anyway, voice of Shadow in Sonic and Sonic Boom and all that stuff. That's a winner.
That's not anime.
It's not anime, but it's a game.
It's a modern anime panel.
Oh, that's okay. Anime. Let's see. Kisame, Yujiro Hanma, and Baki, Askeladd, and Vinland Saga. A bunch of other stuff, which you could probably remind me of who I'm playing, but I forget. Anyway, we're here to. Hey, well, wait a minute. Welcome to the first panel of NostalgiaCon. We are the first one.
Are we?
I think so. I haven't heard anything. No, we're sitting like there. I haven't heard one.
It's all downhill from here.
That's it.
So welcome to NostalgiaCon, everybody.
Perfect. Well, just to start it off, easy layup question. How did each of you first
Look
get
who
into...
decided to join us. Diskin making an appearance. Decided it would be okay to sit down with her. And just put your feet up there and just relax.
Hi. I'm sorry I was late.
Shame.
How do you guys?
I'll go.
You have to introduce yourself and what anime roles you
Gotcha. Hi, I'm Ben Diskin. I am a voice actor. I do a bunch of anime. You might know me as Joseph Joestar from JoJo's Bizarre Adventures. Sai from Naruto. The terrifying aliens from Dawn to Dawn, and a whole bunch of other stuff. So, hi, hello, how are you?
So, how did each of you first get into voice acting, and what was your first anime role?
For me, I got into voice acting when I took acting classes in college. It was went in as an engineer, decided to take some electives, discovered theater, but I'm short and I'm fat, and I was like, I'm not getting anything on camera anytime soon, so voice acting is what I want to do. And that's kind of, from there, just taking workshops and networking, and eventually Forrest Gumping my way into what I have now. And in terms of my first roles, I think my first ones I got to do one of the villains in One Piece. I was in the Fishman Island arc, everyone's least favorite arc. Played Zio, who was one of the antagonists. That was probably my very, very first thing straight out of the gate.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I answered an ad in an actor newspaper that was casting for voices for an animated project, and I went to the first audition and they said, we really like you, we want you to come back for a second audition, and we're going to send you home with a VHS tape because I'm 100 years old. And they said, you're not going to understand what they're saying because it's in Japanese, but just see if you can capture the tone of the character and how she sounds. And I'm watching this tape, and there's this chick riding in on a Vespa, and she's going, and I had no idea what was going on, but I thought, oh, this is how she sounds. And I got the role, and it was Haruko in FLCL. So that was my very first anime ever. And from there, I think I a couple of the other early ones that I got. Witch Hunter Robin, I think, was my second one. Samurai Champloo, some things like that, and I've been doing it ever since. So, yeah.
Wow, I got in the traditional way. I went to the dry cleaners. Seriously, I went to the dry cleaners. I'd been doing theater in New York, came out to LA to do film and TV, and I went to the dry cleaners and came out. Ran into a friend who I'd worked with at the Oregon Shakespeare Festival, and he said, "Hey, you want to do cartoons?" And I said, "Yeah, who wouldn't?" And so, yeah, he took me in the booth, and Wendy Lee and was there, and Doug Stone, and probably, I'm guessing, Tom Weiner, and they were all standing around the seasoned veterans. It was the young kid, and they had me do a line, and I hit it on the first take. I just completely lucked out. And then I did a bunch of teeny tiny roles for a long time in some really weird animes that nobody's ever heard of. And then, finally hit things like Samurai Champloo and Mysterious Play or Fushuki Yugi, and then it just kept rolling.
I got my very first acting job when I was 2.5 years old. It was very challenging because, very, very recently, not a long time ago. And they just wanted me to eat chicken McNuggets for McDonald's. And I was very delighted to do so because I was 2.5. So I was like, this is great. I want to do this for a living. And then I learned it was actually an entirely different profession. I stuck with it anyway because I really like it. I liked doing voiceover way more than on camera. And so I transitioned from doing that to full-time VO and wound up doing a bunch of shows as a kid. I was in Hey Arnold as like one of the voices of Eugene. Codename Kids Next Door as number 1 and number 2. Venom from Spectacular Spider-Man, and it just kind of kept on snowballing. And now I'm here today at NostalgiaCon.
So, do you prefer voicing heroes, villains, or morally gray characters? Which one is your favorite?
Villains. Villains who needs villains. Morally ambiguous.
Yeah.
They're always more fun, but the sad thing is they're in less episodes. So if you play the heroes, you're probably going to be in a lot more shows, but the villains are so fun.
Yeah, there are plenty of actors that'll be like, oh, I'm just happy to be here, whatever gives me a paycheck, whatever I'm considered for, but they're liars. The villains are absolutely the fun ones. Some heroes, don't get me wrong, they're great, but yeah. Morally ambiguous and villains, I think they fit in a nice area of like character growth. Some of them, because villains sometimes turn to good guys. Morally gray, they have backstories and whatnot. I feel like with a lot of heroes, while very, very fun, a number, not all, but a number of them are kind of a little on the plain Jane side so that people can self-insert themselves and see themselves in those shoes. And that's great, it's fun, but yeah, something that ends up having like a little more depth that you can chew on, I think, is what I like to work on.
I don't know, what's it feel like to play a hero? I just do villains, because great thing about villains is heroes get to play that hero, that good, that good wholesome thing, but villains get to play that too, except they're just acting like they're good and wholesome. So they get to play that side, they get to play both sides of the fence.
Yeah, I'm a big villain guy myself. Team villain all the way. Yeah, it's a lot more fun because honestly, I think most of us are pretty nice people. So it's a really.
You don't know me like that.
Well, I guess you know what. This side of the group not so nice. Sorry, I already got lumped in. No, but yeah, villains are great because we're usually pretty nice, and it's nice to have an outlet for every like nasty thing you've ever thought in your life. You just pour it into that character, and it feels fantastic.
And I'm sure you guys get asked this question all the time, but for anyone in the audience who wants to choose this as a career path or try and pursue it, brand new, what would you recommend for them to try and get started? Because from what I've heard, super cutthroat industry, it's really hard to break through. So what was the difference for each one of you that helped break through that barrier?
The big thing is there is no one way to get in. Everyone's going to have a different story. The generic formula that all of us have in common is that we took workshops, got training, nurtured our growth in some capacity. And you know, you need to learn how to act. Take acting classes. It's not about the voice. I think if you go to any of our booths, all of us will end up pitching iwannabeavoiceactor.com for anyone looking to try and get into it today, because D. Bradley Baker, industry legend, he has compiled an incredible resource that will cover more than any of us can in a short meet and greet interaction. But, you know, it's you know, like, I kind of got into this, or my career spiraled thanks to a car accident that I got into. And I would not recommend that, but it's just one of those, like, you never know what's going to be the thing that kind of inserts you. But if it's a craft that you want to get into, get your training, understand it's a marathon, not a sprint, don't compare yourself to others, and be ready for a lot of just trials and tribulations, because for every successful actor that you see here, there are thousands upon thousands of others that aren't here. So if it's something that you want to do, keep with it.
I mean, you hit on everything that I would say. So I would just second the idea of persistence is so important, because there's a lot that's out of your control. But as long as you make it your job to give good auditions and to consistently show up and give good auditions, persistence is what's going to ultimately set you over.
Yeah, I would, all that, and I would just say it's a real head thing. It's not something that you want to do. It needs to be something that you have to do. You can't just say, oh, I want to do that. No. You've got to be the kind of person that says, I have to do that. And there's no options, there's no taking no for an answer. You have to say, like, I knew if I wasn't an actor, I don't know what I would have done. You know, I can't do this, I can't do that, all I can do is act. I had to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything they've said. Mine is spite. Here's the thing. You're gonna get told no 100 times for every yes. So what you have to have is the ability to just say, I am not going to give up. I refuse. I love this too much. This means too much to me. Oh, you don't think I'm good enough? Well, guess what? I'm gonna stick it through and I'm gonna keep on trying, because you will struggle. That is just the actor's life, is constantly trying, constantly failing. So every single one of those victories, count your blessings, because they are tough to come by. But don't give up.
That's great. Great advice. Are any of you surprised by how mainstream anime has become now? You know, I was an 80s baby. I grew up with Yu Yu Hakusho, Dragon Ball Z, Toonami, Adult Swim. And, you know, when I was in high school in the early 2000s, anime was kind of shunned upon. You would get made fun of. And now it's super popular. Is that surprising to any of you? Or did you expect this kind of traction in the anime world?
You know, it's hard to say surprising, because when you're growing with it, it just kind of feels like it's a natural progression that's occurred. But, you know, kind of what you touched on, yeah, like, they were definitely, like, being a geek or a nerd was definitely, I mean, that got you pushed into lockers and swirlies and whatnot, and now all of a sudden there are conventions everywhere celebrating love for this medium and this genre of, or not genre, but like just the different properties that exist within it. And yeah, I don't know that I would ever have predicted that it would have gotten this big. I think it is absolutely wild that suddenly the nerds and the geeks are the jocks of the world. So, you know, here we are.
Yeah, I remember when I got cast in that first show, my friend Stephanie Shea was one of the producers on it, and I remember her saying to me, oh, the fans are going to love you. And I said, we have fans? Like, because I just really did not realize that there was this whole thing out there. And she said, yeah, there's actually little conventions and things like that. And I was kind of blown away by that. And she and I went to my first convention together, and it was tiny. It was really tiny. And I was still like, wow, this is the coolest thing. People are bringing up their program and, you know, asking me for an autograph. And now you can buy anime pajamas at Target. So that's how you know it's gone mainstream. So I think, like you, I never thought that it would get this big. I had a feeling over the years that it was growing, but I've been shocked that it has just taken over the way it has.
So the question again is, if we're what?
Are you surprised by how?
What is anime? There's something called anime?
Apparently.
Yeah, totally. I mean, when I was growing up, my age, I didn't know anime existed. I don't know if it did exist back then. I'm sure it must have. But I had no idea what it was. When I first got into it, I went, this is weird. These Japanese, they've got some really interesting sensibilities. When I first saw Naruto, I went, seriously? Then you said this is popular? And then, so yes. The answer is yes, surprised.
I wasn't surprised at all. I was that kid in school where I had to tell my friends, guys, don't watch Fox Kids, don't watch Kids WB. Tune in like an hour before that stuff starts on our local network, which was KCAL 9 in Los Angeles. Right before the news, there's this really cool show, and it's amazing. And they're like, what are you talking about? And it was Dragon Ball Z. Everybody was calling it Dragon Balls because we didn't know how to pronounce it. So I was just like, this is the coolest thing ever. I can't believe there aren't more cool shows like this. And then all the shows started coming over. I'm like, yeah, there it is. Yeah, that makes total sense to me. That this has blown up because it's really awesome. Yeah, it's great.
The late kid comes in and just crushes it.
Do we have any questions in the audience at all?
Just curious, an earlier statement you made earlier, I was just curious, what were those obscure unknown anime that you mentioned in your early days?
I have to look them up on, I have to Google them. I know one was called XR 7, which was, a lot of them were really edgy. It was, when I was doing all, I saw did Sam Peckinpah move to Japan? Because they were bloody and gory and just, oh my God, they're really wild. But XR 7 was one, and you have to Google me and look back the early stuff I did. You don't know to find out. Sorry, what? I guess. I had no idea. I didn't know if they were underground or mainstream, but I guess so, yeah. But pretty wild stuff.
Anybody else?
For me, top going into advertised action number 8. For me, one of the things is that you're never too old to follow your dreams and passions. Constantly throughout our lives, we end up hitting roadblocks that kind of make us lose the will or hope that we may have had in order to do things. And so, knowing that it's okay to try, fall, stumble, get up, keep trying. There is no age limit, You constantly see in the news or see articles about, this person got their degree at the age of 67 or 82. It's one of those things where if you want something bad enough, you will continue to try and get it, and there is no age limit on anything.
I think for me, it's the idea of found family in anime, and this idea of finding your tribe, because over and over again in various animes, it's people coming together, and a lot of times misfits coming together and forming connections and forming friendships and forming family. And maybe that's a reason that anime has gotten so huge over the years, is that people find their tribe with it, you know, like all the misfits that were watching anime and stuff like that suddenly have these cool convention circuits to find other people that love what they love. So that theme, I think, for me, just pops up over and over again in anime about finding your family, whether they are blood relatives or not.
It would have to be to constantly remind myself not to judge people for what they appear to be. Because a number of characters I played, I thought they were something, and they evolved into something else, and there was motivation behind them that was, even the bad guys, that was honorable. So yeah, just never to judge a book by its cover.
That's good. Yeah, mine is about never giving up, because usually a big theme in anime is that perseverance. Like for instance, in Naruto, there's like Rock Lee, right? He has like no ninjutsu or genjutsu, only taijutsu, and he's just like, well, I want to be a ninja. I don't care that I don't have the qualifications. I'm going to make it happen. And I see that kind of stuff happening a lot. And so I just think it's an overall good life lesson, is because I think a lot of us give up too soon because we feel like, oh, I'm not getting something right away. I don't understand it immediately. And so I think the ability to just persevere against all odds is, I think it's something that a lot of us need to kind of, you know, remind ourselves that it's important.
Sense a theme with Ben. Sensing a theme with you, Ben.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I don't know where it's coming from either.
Perseverance.
It's very weird, right?
Any other questions?
And what a great question, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I got another question. Was there any role that you turned down that you regret, or was there any role that you didn't get that you really wish you had?
I don't think I've ever turned down a role in my life. I think that's the actor answer right now.
Well, okay, I will say that there are some roles where I don't necessarily like how they portray women. And so as I've gotten further and further into my career, it's been really nice to be able to pass on auditions, and in one or two cases, roles that I just didn't feel very good about. So, yeah.
Yeah, rarely you turn anything down. Early in my career, back before cell phones and pagers, it was back with the dinosaurs, with answering machines, and I didn't have one, and I got a call from it was a theater in LA was trying to reach me to hire me, and I didn't have a phone. They couldn't get me, and so it was a big theater, a really good theater that was trying to get me in. Oh, twice, yeah, and I didn't get it. Well, and I didn't get to work with Christopher Plummer and James Earl Jones doing Shakespeare on Broadway because my agent thought, oh, I can't call him for this. I know, right?
I'm throwing up for you.
Yeah, that's rough. Good God.
Yeah, I don't necessarily have a role that, in terms of like turning down. I'm still relatively a baby in this career. I mean, don't get me wrong, a little under a decade, but I've only started now being considered for bigger things. But in terms of like roles that passed by that I wish I had, you know, there's always going to be that one where you wish you would have gotten it, but at the end of the day, you kind of just learn to, let go, because at the end of the day, if it was meant for you, it would have been given to you. Otherwise, there's no sense in just dwelling on it. I think a big part of this career is learning to be happy for your peers when they get the roles that you would have wanted, because at the end of the day, it's about uplifting community. So as long as you are, you know, there for each other. That's all that matters. So, are there roles that I wish I could have gotten? Absolutely. There's always going to be those, but yeah, it kind of just, you know, you roll with the punches. It is what it is. You get what's meant for you.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for your time.